Lines, Steve Sisson and Floyd Whiting.
Good morning, and just to let you know, Mr. Sisson is out today. He's out enjoying some family events, so I am joined by Mr. Aaron Palmer, all the way over from Johnson County. How you doing, Aaron?
Good morning. Doing well.
Doing well.
Trying to get organized.
You were here pretty early this morning.
A little bit, yeah.
Now, before I go very much farther, I got a call during the show last week talking about coroners and forensic autopsies, which actually caused a chain of events, and I got a letter to read to my listeners from the Sheridan County Coroner's Office. So this letter is as reads: as your elected Sheridan County Coroner, I feel obligated to inform you of facts concerning Wyoming coroners. Number one, a coroner in Wyoming can't sign a death certificate without consulting a medical doctor. Tom Bennett is a medical doctor who has helped our office with this at no cost, saving the taxpayers of Sheridan County tens of thousands of dollars. Number two, by state statute, forensic autopsies in Wyoming need to be done by a board-certified forensic pathologist. The national average of autopsies performed is 30% of a coroner's case volume. Sheridan County has dropped this to 10% of our cases thanks to the consultations from Tom Bennett. Without his help, the coroner's budget would at least double. If we have to travel for future autopsies on coroner cases, the budget could easily triple. Number three, about 1/3 of the states are under the medical examiner system, where all death investigations are directed by a forensic pathologist. Wyoming has elected coroners, of which I'm one. Whoever is elected coroner will have to reapply for the job every 4 years. It's up to the voters to make that choice. Number four, the morgue being built in Sheridan is going to be funded with federal COVID money which has been earmarked for purposes such as this. Operation expenses in the future should be covered by having a local forensic pathologist do autopsies for other Wyoming counties. Number five, there are only around 300 forensic pathologists in the country, making Sheridan special for having one here. And this was signed by P.J. Kane, coroners, the Sheridan County Coroner's Office. All right, so there you go. That is in response, like I said, to a call that we received last week. And now moving on, we're going to take a quick look at our poll, where basically I just asked you if you had taken the Sheridan Thrive 2035 survey as of yet. It's actually a community review. Sheridan area partners are hosting this community review, sponsored by the Wyoming Business Council. This is an opportunity for you to be heard and create a locally driven vision for the future of Sheridan. A community review is a small survey of sorts to basically gather the input of residents and visitors alike on where they would like to see Sheridan in 10 to 15 years. This has been available for a while now, folks, on multiple websites throughout the county. The Sheridan Community Review Thrive 2035 contains only 3 questions. What do you value about your community? What do you value about the Sheridan area? And what would you like to see in the future, approximately 10 to 15 years from now? And the results on that survey. The majority had answered no. We also gave you a link at the bottom of the poll so that you can jump on there and take it. Steve Sisson, myself, and Trevor Jackson all basically sat here and took it last week. We just talked over the questions. Because visitors, which, I work in Sheridan. I wouldn't actually say that I'm too much of a visitor. I live in Johnson County, but I work here. So, and my wife works there. We're pretty invested in the community. So, but 419 votes said no, and only 42 said yes. So, if you haven't taken that survey yet, folks, I would suggest that you jump on there and get your voice heard. This is how these organizations who help to plan and strategically plan for future moves get their information. I was having dinner with a friend last night who works here, not at Sheridan Media, but in Sheridan, and he said, when it comes to polls, do you take them? Because we get phone calls all the time. I don't know if you get phone calls, but we get phone calls from healthcare organizations with the government, and all they want to do is just basically take a survey. And I got to thinking about something. I thought, usually I pass those things over. We all have an excuse as to why. I don't have time, or I'm not involved, whatever. Fact of the matter is, we should be taking those because we use that information here at Sheridan Media all the time. That is, when we go to these government sites, they have all these statistics and averages, and those are garnered through these surveys that are being taken. It is how people get heard at this level. It is how decisions are being made. So if you haven't taken this Thrive 2035 survey, jump on there. Be heard.
Let me play devil's advocate.
Go for it. Please do.
But let's say there are people out there that are like, but is the government really, or governmental entities really taking this information and using it in the way that they say?
Okay. So,
because there are a lot of people that think, hey, we can tell them whatever we want.
It's all going in the garbage,
They're
right?
going to do exactly what they want to do regardless.
So I'm going to say
I'm just playing devil's advocate for that.
Right. And I'm going to give you two things. Number one, why spend the money then?
Sure.
We want to create the illusion. Really? So you're going to have to spend all this money to create that illusion that half of these people believe anyway?
Right.
Number two, surveys even larger than this one. I have sat and spoken with government agencies, and they're like, look, the reason why you're not going to get your results until a year from now is because we have to go through all of this. I know that the Wyoming Game and Fish Commission reads everything that they're sent. They take that very seriously. And their director, I believe his title is director, Nesvik. I know his family, and those people are patriots in the idea that this country is controlled and loved by the people. So we need to listen to the people. And so I can, all but guarantee that they actually sit and read that. And the individuals who are taking this survey for Sheridan Thrive 2035, they're community organizations. They're right here. They know the people who are taking these surveys. They need and want this influential opinions about direction and how are we going to strategically plan? Imagine having this in your back pocket when you're sitting in one of these big meetings and somebody says, all right, we've got to make a strategic plan for the next 25 years for our area. Well, where do you even start? I mean, what a quagmire. You've got economics you have to address. You've got agriculture. You've got multiple industries. You've got the citizenship itself. You've got law enforcement. You have so much to consider. So to have a survey like this and to have an opinion from individuals that are actually living in that community, what a massive benefit. You can sit there and say, okay, well, this pile over here says we need to, for example, we need to move the train. Well, this pile says yes. This pile says no. So where do we go from there? Well, find the bigger pile. That's the way this goes. And that's the way it's supposed to go. So, and nobody knows what they're doing. But when something like this comes up, where the government or local agencies, because this isn't government, okay? Local government has a hand in it, but this is like the Chamber of Commerce. This is Impact 307. This is the Wyoming Business Council. These are individuals who do everything that they can to help our economy right here in Sheridan. And it's because of individuals like this, and because of Sheridan's beautiful downtown, and because of everybody working together in this area, that we were able to get through COVID as shiny as we did. Because we're diverse. We were able to get through there without taking punches in the gut as badly as a lot of communities. And I honestly feel that the individuals who I talk to a lot, who sit in those chairs, know we made it because the people came together when they needed to. And so the best way to do this as we go forward is to go right back to that beautiful source of information. Let's just see what they want to do. And then we'll do that instead. If you were to take all of this into consideration and then just throw away the answers, first off, there's too many people involved. Once again, there's just too many organizations, too many people who'd have to keep their mouths shut. We're gonna spend all this money. We're gonna spend all this time. We're gonna make all this effort. And then we're gonna throw it away. Someone in that huge group of individuals is gonna stand up and say, what are you doing? What are you doing? This country is run on checks and balances. For 95% of the conspiracy theories that I hear, to actually work, the amount of people who would have to keep their mouths shut for all time is seriously improbable, if not impossible. And that's my answer to that.
Fair enough. And we all go to these meetings and talk to people in these organizations and even the governments. And like Sheridan County, they do their planning. They spend the same money on the same types of studies as does the city of Sheridan, Johnson County, Buffalo. They all do it. And they have these plans that are out 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So, and we hear it in the meetings all the time, where even with vacations of properties or
boundary lines
for whatever, they have to fit into these parameters that they have adopted in these plans that stretch out for 20 years. So they do use the information. We see this in every meeting that we attend.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I was just saying,
play devil's advocate. It's
because
perfect.
there are people that think that.
Absolutely.
Why are we doing this when they're just going to do what they want anyway?
Well, okay, so I had Gail Simmons in here, and I would say that she is a true patriot. She's doing her best with Why Vote. Whyvote.vote to gather as much voter information. And when I say that, I mean information for the voter. You know, who is this guy or girl? Who what are they running for? Well, what does that job do? You can find all that information on there. Okay, it's a nonprofit. It's bipartisan. So you can jump on there and just find the facts about certain things. And when I had her in here and we were discussing some of this, she brought numbers with her. Less than 20%. I believe the age, and I've talked about this before, but I believe the ages were 18 to 25, maybe. I'd have to get the piece of paper out. It's sitting on my desk. Less than 20% of them voted. And when you walk around and you talk to some of these kids, because I got curious. What the heck, man? So everyone who I've talked to since having her on the show, ages 18 to 25, I've asked, did you vote? Did you take the time to go and vote? And the number one thing that I've heard more than anything else, my vote doesn't matter. I've heard that over and over and over. And for some reason, this generation has had that hammered into their head. I don't know by who, but they believe that it doesn't matter over and over again. And so there's got to be a massive effort made. And maybe, what I've seen is a generational war going on here in the United States. You got the boomers versus the millennials. And it's been back and forth for, I don't know, what, a decade closing on? Mm-hmm. These people have been going at each other.
Yep.
And each one wants, you got the conservative group over here. We like the way things are. And then you got the millennials who want to make a lot of big changes. And I'm in the middle. Once again, Floyd's an independent on this because I see where both sides are coming from.
But it's also a generational thing because you and I being Gen X, we're looking at the
we literally are
millennials going, what? You're both being stupid.
Yeah.
And both right at the same time.
And both bullheaded.
Right.
And some people say, well, this is policy. This is law. We need to be bullheaded. Okay, to an extent I could see that. But at the same time, we need to move forward together as a nation. One side is not going to win this.
Right.
You might think that eventually you're going to get one over on the Democrats, or eventually we're going to win everything and the Republicans are going to go silent. You're wrong on both accounts. Uh-huh. Each side will always be there, and each side will always be screaming the same thing.
And you and I can look back on politics over the last 30 years, 40 years even, when we were just getting to the voting age. There were a lot of those senators, representatives, whatever, that we looked at and respected, because whether they were Democrat or Republican is immaterial, because they would work together and they weren't quote unquote enemies. Mm-hmm. They had differences of opinion, obviously, but they would come together and work toward doing something for the greater good. Now, were they trying to make it a Democratic thing or a Republican thing? Well, sure. But that's what made it doable, is making it bipartisan. There's that word again. We keep hearing it. You and I grew up and it actually meant something back in the day. But now, within just the last couple of decades, it's gotten to mean less. And it's all about, well, the Democrats are, we have to do this as a Democrat party, and the Republicans have to do the same thing, and we're not going to do anything unless it's our party that does it.
Yeah.
How about just cooperating and trying to get something done for everyone, and then you're both responsible for making something
the results,
happen.
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's the way it should be, but unfortunately, we're not there.
No. Instead, I'm watching a divide.
Yep, and it's getting worse by the day.
And that valley's growing, my friend. It's growing. All right, I'm going to take a quick commercial break. You're listening to the Jackson Electric Open Lines on 930 KROE and 103.9 FM. Sheridan.